so what do you think would happen if we didn't have the internet?
Well, actually, there are quite a lot of things that we would end up doing if we didn't have the internet.
Go on.
Well, firstly, I think that we would be meeting each other more often, just as a necessary condition of things, because, well, we can't buy things online anymore, so we have to go to a store, and some things we just can't get. And we're gonna have to meet people in order to even find a job. You can't apply for a job online, and you have to do a lot more interviews. And there won't be such thing as distance learning. So if something like COVID happened and we didn't have the internet, then it would be very difficult to actually get
I'll tell you what would be the biggest
to
problem
receive
for me.
education. What?
I wouldn't have an idea where I was in the world. I rely so much on Google Maps and SatNav to get me from here to there. I've forgotten how to ask people for directions or how to read them. Actually, I don't think I ever knew how to do that. But I don't know. On the other hand, somehow I've maintained more social life because of the internet through WhatsApp. Or, okay, I don't use Facebook so much, but still, you can get in contact with people you've known so many years ago. There's no way I would have managed to maintain that contact if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, but do you think that the internet gives you the illusion of actually maintaining a contact sometimes?
Yes, I mean, sometimes I do worry about my friendships being more superficial, that I don't have these deep connections anymore. That come from constantly staying with people, seeing each other all the time. But I mean, at the same time, with COVID, that would have happened anyway. We couldn't have maintained these relationships, and the internet was a lifesaver for this.
Yeah, it's something to be thankful for.
Yes, I mean, I hear a lot of negativity, a lot of people feeling that the internet's done a lot, but I feel it is doing a lot for us as humans. It's giving us more of a voice, it's giving us more power over people, over corporations, over governments.
It does give more power. It's a really powerful tool that helps us actually achieve so many things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So I think in that regard, it's really good. But suppose we didn't have another type of technology. Suppose we didn't have phones, but we had other forms of technology. Then what do you think would happen then?
Well, it's not too hard for me to imagine this because I just have to go back 15 years of my life because that's how it was. Our phones were the simple flip phones or Nokias.
Right.
And if you wanted to use the internet, you go to your computer, or if you don't have a computer, you go to somebody else's house or to the library. And that's kind of how you communicate. I mean, if you accidentally connected to the internet on your phone, you go into panic because that's going to cost you a freaking fortune.
Right.
And I mean, it's been talked about so often, I don't want to bang on about it for too long, but there was a huge difference before when we had to organize how to meet up with each other, how we research things, and yes, the internet has made it a lot easier, but at the same time, I do want to talk about something else and I'll get your opinion on this. Do you feel we get too much information now?
I do kind of get that impression that it's very hard to organize all of the information that you're receiving from so many different channels and so many different sources. So depending on where you are and how many platforms you access every day, you're going to have a certain amount of information to handle. And that's only on the internet. And that's not even counting the things you receive on the TV,
right,
through the radio, in person by hearsay. So it can be very difficult.
I heard once this thing was getting information from the internet is like getting a drink of water from a fire hydrant.
Yeah, wow, that's actually a really interesting analogy.
So, do you think things are getting better or worse?
Do you mean with society?
Yeah.
I think that to tie this question to the one before, that the information can make it very difficult to see actual progress in society. But if we don't see it, it doesn't mean that it's not happening. There is a lot of misinformation, but there are lots of people that are doing many different things to achieve a better place. So I think that society is becoming more aware about certain dangers of the environment. They're becoming more sensitive to this kind of topic.
So you see yourself as more of an optimist than a cynic?
I'm an optimist in that the human beings...
In a cautious way.
Yeah, I'm an optimist that human beings are learning more in that sense. And they're trying harder, a lot harder than before. But what about you? What is your opinion on this? Are you pessimistic about this?
I wouldn't call myself a pessimist. In general, I am an optimist. I feel that actually one of the big things we have to get over is media manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
There's far too much division being put in, when really all of us kind of want the same thing. We want to live well and grow well, and you know, the environment is clearly an issue. Everyone agrees on this, and we have more resources to work together and put pressure on each other to do this. And I do feel a bit upset when I see division, like things like Brexit brought about, or in the American discourse, you see a lot more of this, like Republican and Democrats seems to be much harder than it was in previous years.
It definitely feels a lot harder, and I think the reason is not even about politics. It's more about picking a side.
I feel like it's a divide and conquer strategy. I've always felt this,
Yes.
that if you can create us into two sides, it's easier to pass things. That
I'm more in favor of just human beings trying to get along. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the only way to improve.
a lot of cliches exist for a good reason. And I'm in complete agreement with you, actually, that, I mean, I have faith that this will happen, that people will find that there's more similarities and kind of work together eventually. And there will always be obstacles in the way of this.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like the work? I mean, COVID has been a huge thing for the whole of society. How do you feel that's like kind of accelerated the change in work patterns?
Yes, definitely, because I think it helped us realize a couple of issues with work, and in a way, it was a trigger which helped us start organizing work in, well, for the better, let's say, for a better cause. And many people have found, those that still have their jobs, have found a good opportunity to reorganize or reinvent themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that's extremely important. It's an important moment in our history today.
I mean, there's a huge amount of companies were saying it's impossible, that we could not, you know, make work go online. Everyone has to come into the office. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
And then when it said, okay, well, you're going to have to pay your workers to not work then, they're like, oh, no, wait, actually, yeah, they can't work online. And now there seems to be more of an embracing of this, we're either working online fully, like working remotely, or being able to do half and half. And I mean, I want to bring up another thing as well. It's made a lot of companies start to think more internationally with how they do things.
They do, by outsourcing. And I think many companies that have the power to outsource, like the financial ones, they open their minds to the idea that they can start using technology to organize the smart working or remote working. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that certain businesses don't really have an opportunity of doing. So if your business is a restaurant, there's no way that you can, let's say, tackle this issue. You either pay workers to go, but if the government doesn't let you, then you can't. So we should consider ourselves fortunate that there are so many jobs of a certain kind where you can actually, you know, we do have the tools that it takes to redistribute this work and this workload.